Hey Mark, how you doing? Mad Piper? Yes, we had a wonderful new year, thank you very much. And we're already up to the Day of Atonement, which is tomorrow night for 25 hours. Hey Patrick. So I've got a heavy duty fast on from Sunday night through to Monday night, 25 hours fasting. No water, no food. In other words, no drink, no food. So it's a pretty heavy duty fast day. So tomorrow we'll be taking on, and tonight taking on liquids, which just makes life a little bit easier. But it does mean that I'm going to miss yet another Zoom session on Sunday night with one of my regular Zoom groups that I join. I've been a bit remiss. I've been off there for quite, not on there as often as I usually am. There we go. Such is life. I'm at a little bit of a loss on what I'm going to smoke, because I was going to smoke the Volcano. This is the Pipe 792, which I completed the other day, and I put up the video. I lighting it for the first time, and I had a little bit of a struggle with it in terms of the angle, and some people said just rebend the stem. So I did that, and the angle is much better. But believe it or not, as I was recording that video just now, it's uploading now as we speak. Somebody bought the pipe. Obviously at a much reduced price. Obviously it's smoked obviously now. It's only had one bolt through it, but nevertheless. So that was very cool. Obviously they're fully aware of the issues with the pipe. So it's a customer of mine as it is, so I was very happy about that. But it's a great smoker. The draw on this was phenomenal. The sort of the slot work on this really worked out beautiful. Very smooth draw, and there's a lot of work gone into this pipe, a lot of work. Sometimes when you look at these, especially like hey Daniel, Chillax, Thanasisbag, how you all doing? What is that pipe maker that did the sort of blocky pipes? Italian. My brain just doesn't work half the time. Hey John, how you doing? Some of you guys I'm sure will know who I'm talking about. A pipe maker who made in his most recent sort of style. He's not alive anymore. He passed away not long ago. Baldi, that's the one. Hey Mike, how you doing? Baldi, yeah, that's the one. Anyway, so he used to do, when I first sort of started looking at pipes and knew nothing about pipes. I'm not saying that I know much now, but when I started out, I certainly knew nothing about pipes. And I first looked at those pipes and I thought, what on earth are these going for thousands of pounds for? It's a block of briar, literally a block of briar, and that's it. I mean, hardly any work's gone into it. But when actually you're making blocks of, when they're angular, it's quite hard. It's actually very hard to make the angles perfect. And I've done a few sort of blocky kind of pipes, and like for instance, the one and only 5-star that I've ever done, that one is also kind of, it's just a block, but in reality, a lot of work goes into it to get it right, and it happens to be also a beautifully grained pipe. So, but anyway, so I've adjusted the pipe, and I actually just uploaded a video, or it's uploading right now, which is entitled Nottingham Pipe Show and Briar Blues. I just finished watching your video, Mike, and so I just put out my little thank you to your channel for all the support that you've given me. I think that you were a huge part of my progression in my infancy as a pipe maker, and I think I would not have been the same pipe maker were it not for your input. So I'll be forever grateful for that. Anyway, watch that video, guys, when we're finished here. And the other one is Nottingham Pipe Show, is because what I didn't realize, this year was going to be my first year as a pipe maker, going as a pipe maker, and having a table at the show. But I didn't realize that it clashes with the yeah, exactly, Mike. It clashes with my holiday that comes up, the festival of Sukkot, which is the last day of the festival, believe it or not. I was hoping that it wasn't, but it is, so I can't go, which I'm a bit cut up about, because I was hoping to meet quite a few new friends that I've made in the last couple of years, and it would have been an opportunity to meet them in the flesh. So, and Mark, you're one of them, and I'm afraid that that's not going to happen now, because this season, from the Jewish New Year right through to the end of the Tabernacles Festival, Sukkot, it's a period of about 3 weeks, and it kind of in and out of festivals the whole time. So there's a couple of days here, a day there, and then another couple of days, and then another couple of days. So a lot of it's a very sort of busy festival period. So in a way, like I said in the video, when you get to watch it, there's a bit of a silver lining to the cloud, because I haven't had a chance to make pipes for the show. So I was going to have to cram it for a few days and knock out a bunch of pipes in order to take them to the show. So at least I don't have that pressure now, because this coming week, I would not have had the time to do it. So, and then it just would have been a nightmare for me to be able to get ready in time. So there we go. C'est la vie. Yeah, so that's I've got to select something else to smoke now, so that is sold. Right. So I was going to smoke Orly Golden Sliced in it, because I had smoked Christmas Cheer 2014, I think it was. I might actually have a bowl of that again, because I did enjoy it. I'm not going to smoke the Brigham pipe, because number one, I've never smoked it, so I don't know what it smokes like. So I don't want to. I'd want to test it out first. But also, it's not a 9mm pipe. Yes, it has got those Brigham filters in there, but still, it's something which I need to test out. Maybe do a video on it when I smoke it the first time. So I'm not going to smoke that now. 2014 Christmas Cheer, not that much left of it. Alright, if you just got a pop-up, that means it's just finished uploading. Yeah. So it's not just me that has to be thankful to Mike, by the way. There's quite a number of new pipe makers, which I believe Mike, although he hasn't shouted from the treetops about it, but I know for a fact that Mike has helped several other pipe makers out there, and probably still is. So there we go. Anyway, yes, thank you, Andrew. You're to blame for that. So Mike said in his video that he's just come away from a month of smoking OGS, and now he's getting back to can you see how white this tobacco is? Well, let me get some light on there. So you can see that the sugar crystals on there. This is 2014, so what, 7 years? And there is McLaren's, obviously, so that's going to be decent quality. I drilled it the same as a normal pipe, Daniel, but it's drilled like that, and obviously at an angle. But trying to get that angle right means that it ended up, even though I drilled the chamber sort of in that direction to meet it, I basically went wrong somewhere, and it ended up that the draft hole is quite high up, which is why I just withdrew it from my website, because I just didn't feel that I could sell it as a regular sale pipe, and that's why I smoked it, because I wasn't intending to sell it. But if somebody contacts me knowing all the flaws and all, warts and all, so to speak, and still wants the pipe, then that's fine with me. And it does smoke very, very well, I will say that. Organic tea indeed. I've actually still got them over here next to me, the tea, the organic tea. I haven't opened them because they've been heat sealed, the Mylar packs, so I'm going to leave them as they are. This is from September 23, so I'm assuming that was the tin date. Couldn't have been the tin date though, Andrew. Was that the tin date? It was tin date. Was it 23 or 22? So these will stay away now for a few years. I have, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 pounds of Oerlikon Golden Slice from ranging from 2019 through to 2022. It is from 23. Okay, thank you, Andrew. So it'll take me a while to get through that lot. So it's always good to know that you got some put away. They were fresh. Okay. So I'm not actually sure how much time I'm going to have this week to even make a pipe, but we'll see how we go. Right, I've got to select the pipe now. Let's see. I tell you, a pipe I haven't smoked for a long time is the Bentley. That one smoked 40th anniversary, which is not too dissimilar from Christmas Cheer, and it smoked that very well. Although more recently when I tried it, it wasn't that great, but I'm going to give it a go if I can find the pipe. Here we are. Let's see if I can set this further back. Codger Jim, how you doing? Hey, Jeremy. That's pretty clean. Usually, especially with 9mm pipes, usually at the foot of the base of this, the inside of the tenon, you usually get some guck just gathering around that sort of well. So you've got the drill in the middle of it, and then you've got, it's like the bottom of the mortise, that kind of thing, just before the drill. So around the outside of the draft hole, you tend to get a build-up of sort of tarry substance. That's actually pretty good. I must have cleaned this out recently. I can't remember though. All right. So Alex recently told me that when you're putting in a new filter, you should blow it a couple of times to get rid of any carbon dust. And that was news to me. I've never ever done that. I've never noticed any issue, but why not? Yeah, I mean, in terms of banning all smoking, that is the long-term plan of most, not all, but most European governments. Denmark, which is the home of, you know, a big inspiration of pipes throughout the world, Danish pipes, and still is. I think they officially consider themselves to be smoke-free. So I think the benchmark is 5% of the nation. If less than 5% of the nation smokes, that's considered smoke-free, because you're never going to get rid of everybody. Oops, wrong one. That's the OGS. Hey, Chip. Yes, indeed. John bought the Canadian that was on sale, and I can't show it to you because it's gone. I sent it out straight away. I'm really trying my best now, as soon as I sell a pipe, to send it out straight away. I used to do it once a week, but it used to build up into being a whole bunch of pipes, and it used to take me hours to get them sorted and packed and stamped and everything. I used to leave all the stamping and everything like that I would do right at the end, on a Friday at the end of a week, and it would always take too long. So I've decided, when I can, is to send them out as soon as they're done. Hey Lee, how you doing? No, it wasn't the Amber Flame one. The Amber Flame I think I still have. Or have I sold that? I can't remember. Unless I've given that to my son, or maybe I did sell it. Did you buy that off me, John? I honestly don't remember. Oh, just going through my drawer. Found the Briar Blues. Haven't smoked that in a while. Beautiful pipe, shape 55. Good smoking pipe. So what I'm actually planning on doing is, you guys remember the pipe rack that I used to have on my desk, the 2-story one. So that now lives on the wall over there. But at the time, the guy that made them sent me a second one, which I haven't put together yet. What I'm planning on doing is putting it together, and I'm going to put it on my desk like it used to be over there. So I'll have 2 of them. So hopefully it'll house all of my pipes. The pipe strap that I used to have hanging up behind me, I've taken all the pipes out of that now. So that's where it used to live. So I'm not entirely sure where it is now. come across this one. Remember this one? This one, 2 a.m. pipe on a patio. Johnny, he named this the Chrysalis. This pipe, which Mark almost had, if you remember Mark. Don't want to break your heart or anything. But again, this was a pipe which was very hard for me to pull back for sale, because I discovered a very small fissure in the base of the bowl, which I don't think would have caused any problems because there's so much briar beneath the bowl. But I still couldn't in all conscience sell the pipe, and Mark had already paid for it. I sent him a full refund, obviously, and since then I've put a bowl coating in there to protect it even more, and I guess at some point I'll probably smoke the pipe. Really beautiful pipe. It's I think one of my nicest freehand pipes from a sculptural point of view. Yeah. I said when I every so often I look back at some of the pipes I've made, and I've done a bit of a retrospective here on London Calling once in a while, gone through some of the pipes on my gallery on the website, and it's just really interesting to just go through them again. I'm not sure where that amber flame stem one is, the Canadian. I wonder if I don't recall if I sold it or not. Or maybe even gave it to my son. I honestly don't remember. Hey Chad. Daniel, I don't actually have a Shape 55 other than the one, than Mike's one. Oh, I have the one that you sold me, but that's not a filtered pipe, so I'm not going to smoke that. And I think it's too small for me to convert, so I'm unlikely to smoke that. It'll probably feature in a sale at some point. I don't know why you didn't keep it. I don't know why you put it out for sale. Lovely little pipe. Probably should have cleaned this pipe out with a little bit of alcohol. Did I put a filter in? I thought I did. It feels like there isn't one in there. Yeah. I'm getting a bit of tongue bite. I was watching Mike struggle to keep his pipe lit. I'm having the same problem. It's funny how some pipes, they just go through periods. I mean, this was one of my best smoking pipes. And pretty much anything Virginia in this would be fantastic. So this is the pipe that Daniel sold me a while ago.
So it's a shape 55, but perhaps not with the most pronounced chin. But it's a shape 55. Completely smooth. It says Castello trademark, double K, Kino, US. Made in Italy, made in Canto, Italy. I can see what the pipe is a little bit off center. The drill in the ball is off center, but it's not that much. Personally, it wouldn't bother me. I'd be happy to smoke that. Right. So the diameter of the stem is 13.6. Whilst technically you could drill that, but it tapers immediately. So I couldn't even fit a 9mm tenon in there. Hey Phil. Maybe 6mm, possibly, but having converted a pipe before to 6mm and not being entirely satisfied, I find them too tight to draw through. To me, it wouldn't make sense. So I would probably leave this as it is, don't mess around with it. I think this is a great little pipe. If anybody's interested, send me an email. lcsprize@gmail.com. Anyway, that wasn't my intention to put that up for sale now, but it is available if somebody wants it. This wasn't intended to be a sale video. You like big pipes, and shape 55 is very small. The shape 55 is, that shape 55 is small, yeah, fair enough, okay. That makes sense. Jeremy Viz, is it absolutely necessary to open up the airway in a stem if you open up the airway in a stummel? I have an unfiltered pipe that needs to be opened up. Well, if you open up the airway in the stummel, assuming the airway and the stem is the same as it was on the stummel, then there's going to be a discrepancy between the two. So you're going to have, imagine you've got, I'll use this pipe as an example. So you look at this stem. Let's, for argument's sake, imagine that this is the diameter of your stummel drill. So you've got that amount of smoke coming through there, and then it has to fit into that. And imagine this is your stem. So you can imagine what's going to happen. There's going to be a bottleneck over here of smoke, and you're going to end up building up moisture. You're going to end up possibly having a little well of moisture in there. You might end up getting a bit of that condensation becoming liquid and coming back into your stem. So ideally, you want the diameter of the shank, the draft hole in the shank, to be as close as possible to the diameter of the drill in your stem. I don't, some people might argue, I don't know, Mike might say differently, but in my experience it doesn't have to be absolutely identical, but it needs to be quite close. If you look at most factory pipes, they're not necessarily identical and they smoke just fine. What is important to my mind is that it's countersunk, so that at least the ease of the journey is, so if you've got, say, a wider mortise and your stem is a little bit narrower, if you open up with a good decent countersink of the stem so that there's an easy path through, if it's a slight discrepancy, I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm not saying that's the ideal, and maybe the highest grade pipe makers wouldn't be happy with that, but I think that, because at the end of the day, a lot of pipe makers will taper down the draft hole in the stem anyway, and then bring it out again in a V-slot coming towards the tip of the button. I try to actually have a consistent diameter, so even though my drill bit is tapered, I actually try to, when I'm funneling out a pipe, I would actually funnel the full depth, like this kind of depth, so that you actually don't get a constriction. But I find that it's okay if there's a little bit of a discrepancy. And I think that a lot of purists, they are purists by nature, and therefore that's fine. That's what they want, and that's great. But you don't have to follow that to the letter of the law with everything. It's just, I find the same with cigars. You see some channels talk about humidity and moisture and temperature that you have to store them at, and they won't tolerate any other kind of measurement whatsoever. So if they say, for instance, that your humidity on your cigars needs to be at 67, for argument's sake, or 68, whereas worldwide the standard is 70, only because it's convenient and easy to remember. Ideally, most people once they get experience in cigars, they will bring it down a little bit to 65 or 66 or 67 humidity. But if you do it at 70, it's just fine, So and it's the same with pipes. I've made many pipes. Thankfully, I've had the opportunity to make nearly 800 pipes now. And there is a percentage of them which the drilling will be slightly off. I'll sell them as seconds. John, he has one of the Canadians, I think, that he has is slightly off, drilled a little bit off. Ask him, John, if you're still here, how does that pipe smoke? As long as it's not wildly off, I don't think it affects the smoke. In fact, in my own personal experience, I think if it's slightly off, it can actually be better, because it creates a little bit of a whirlpool kind of effect, and somehow or other I find that it controls the burn in a way, sometimes a little bit better, but that's just my own personal experience. I'm not saying that it's gospel, but slightly off drill, absolutely fine. I don't find it as a problem. I think higher drill is probably more problematic, but even that, as long as it's not wildly off, it's not the end of the world. This one was drilled high. I wasn't happy selling it or putting it on my website, so I took it off. Somebody has just bought it now, with that knowledge. But I think the height of the drill is probably more important than right or left. The height of the drill is more important simply because if the drill comes into the bowl higher than the base of the bowl, then you create a little bit of a trough, which could affect how well that last bit of tobacco is going to burn. Well, it will affect it, and also means that you could have a well creating where moisture will just sit there, and you end up getting gurgle. As you have a little bit of moisture sitting in the bottom, when you draw, you're creating turbulence, and as the air goes past that moisture, it agitates that moisture. That's what gurgle is essentially, is that you're agitating moisture, and so it bubbles as you agitate it. So you get that, and it's the same when you have any sort of hindrances along the path of the smoke. So, for instance, when I'm doing a non-filtered pipe and I'm putting in the tenon, I'll put a countersink on both sides of that tenon, so that number one, it makes it easier to put a pipe cleaner through, so that when you put a pipe cleaner into the stem, it finds the hole easily because there's no resistance, because it's countersunk. I countersink it right to the edge of the tenon, so the edge of the tenon is wafer thin, so it always finds the hole and it always goes through without any problem at all. Oftentimes, even the base of the mortise I'll countersink as well, so that also helps with it helps with the smoke, and it also helps with the pipe cleaner going through, especially with a bent pipe. Bent pipes are notoriously difficult to put pipe cleaners through if it hasn't been drilled very well, but you can just sort of make that a little bit easier by putting a countersink in, so that it's open wider so the pipe cleaner can find it, and it also makes the smoke journey smoother. So these are the tenons that I currently use for non-filtered pipes. So this little serrated area here goes into the stem so that it grips better when you glue it in. So what I do is I countersink that end so that it's full countersink, so you don't actually hardly see the thickness of that stem. Countersink it there as well, so it just makes everything a lot easier. This is a Bentley by Forma. It's a factory pipe. It's drilled very high, but it's a very, very good smoking pipe. I have to get back into it and smoke it more regularly, but it was one of my best Virginia smokers, especially McClellan Virginias, and it's tasting pretty good now as well. I just need to smoke it a few times. But this one is drilled high, and it was drilled very narrow. It must have been like a 2.5 mil drill, and probably caked up a little bit as well. I re-drilled it, and smokes great. How you doing, Phil? Hope you're all right. How's the back? Hey, Robert. How you doing? Nice to see you again. Definitely, lots of basket pipes. That's usually why they're a basket pipe, to be honest. Most times, I mean, if I go to JJ Fox's, haven't been there in yonks, but if I go to JJ Fox's, most of them are fine. Most of them are drilled right and no problem at all. But you get a Parker pipe sometimes, and which should have been a Dunhill possibly, and you wonder why it wasn't, why it didn't make the grade. And sometimes you'll find that maybe it's drilled slightly off, or maybe it just had too many fills or something. Sometimes you can't see what the reason is. And then what you do is you'll get a preformed stem on there, which would have ordinarily had a hand cut stem if it was a Dunhill. So the few that I've had that I actually smoke, I've just done work on them to make them better. How do you know how to drill it? Well, so I'm sure you've seen me do it many times, but essentially when I'm drilling a block, so I've already done an outline on that one because I had a shape in mind. But basically when you draw a shape on the block, alright, so basic apple, alright, so you draw the lines, so you'll draw your draft hole and your bowl line. So when you're measuring up to drill on your drill bit, you hold the drill bit against that and you measure where you want it to stop, how near to that line you want it to be, depending sometimes on if it's bent or not, and you put a piece of sellotape, bit of tape over there, and when you're drilling it, when you hit the tape, you stop, so you know how far you've gone in. And it's the same with the chamber hole. You put your chamber drill bit against there, and I just stop short of it, put a piece of tape over there to know that's how far I want to go, and then I stop drilling as soon as I hit the tape, and that always works. No reason why it shouldn't. You go from shoulder of drill to shank face. Right. What I do nowadays is when I'm drilling the bowl, though, I stop short. I always leave a few millimeters so that oh, Robert, it's you. I didn't click. I'm such a schmo. Yes, it was McClelland, you snob. Actually, I'm the snob, really, aren't I? Robert Leslie. It just the name rang a bell, and I just couldn't for the love of it couldn't work out who that was. What a twit! Oh, I'm glad it's you anyway. You got a nice pipe. So much work gone into that pipe. Doing this band was just doing this, just that part, took me the best part of a day, of an afternoon. The draw on this pipe is as smooth as silk. Cheers, Rob. Hey Nathan, how you doing? LCS Eskimo. Good for you, Rob. I kind of envy people with a metal lathe when it comes to those kind of things. I'm not sure how much time it saves, but I'm sure it saves some time. But so you've actually got three pieces to this stem. So you have to turn it down to put this on, the ring on. So I mean, I suppose you could just slip it over the top, but it's not the same. So you have to turn it to put that on. Even making the ring, I mean, that was a test in itself, and I think I cracked one first before I did it. And then this is ebonite, okay, so it's quite soft. And when I was making this part to go back on it, so I had to make a ring, basically a band out of the same ebonite material, but it's quite thin to be able to slip over. It had to be quite thin to be able to slip over the central core of ebonite that I had turned down. And I think this is either the third or the fourth ring that I made, because it kept on just collapsing because it was so thin. As I was turning it, it would collapse. And so I had to do it, had to grip it in my other chuck much more lightly so it wouldn't crush under the pressure. As soon as you take the core out of it, it would just collapse inwardly. A bit like that sub, really. So I had to just take it very, very slow, and I think either the third or the fourth time I got it right. But a lot of work went into this pipe, I can tell you that. Yeah, I have looked at Colette trucks in the past, but quite expensive. It's if you've got a metal band, if you're doing it on a lathe, then that shouldn't be too difficult. You just have to work out how you're gripping it. depends if it's bent or if it's not bent. I suppose you could straighten the stem out, but if I was doing it, it's not a type of work that I would want to take on personally because I'm not geared up for it. But if I was doing it, I would put it in the lathe with the stem in the lathe and try to stabilize it somehow on the other end, and just very gently turn it down a little bit to put the ring over it. $100. Okay. Well, Daniel, I mean, there used to be quite a, I think K Woody, for instance, I don't know if they still do, but they certainly did have screw-in tenons. It was certainly a thing in the past, but I guess, number one, it was probably a little bit complicated to make. Unless you could buy them with the screw and the mortise with the screw, then yeah. But you've got to make sure it's fully lined up, because if that's not lined up right, then you can't tighten it properly. It's just probably too difficult to do in a mass-produced kind of way. Yeah, Robert, I've had bands put on pipes. Well, I actually sent a pipe once to somebody to convert it to 9mm, and it came back with a sterling silver band on it, and I didn't understand why. I didn't ask for it, and when I contacted the repairman, he said the shank cracked, so I put a silver band on it. You can get yourself some 2014 Christmas chair. I highly recommend it. Very, very good McClelland tobacco. And that's saying something, because McClelland tobaccos are very good anyway, obviously. To mimic gold. Probably brass. Or you could just use silver and say it's white gold. Bronze is better? Okay. I get the two mixed up anyway. So maybe I mean bronze. Don't know. Right. So I probably mean bronze, because I always get them mixed up. No, sorry, I'm talking about brass and copper. I wasn't talking about bronze. So I stand corrected. If bronze is the one that looks like gold, then good. Banded, yeah. What price would you expect to pay for a tin of 2014? If you could find it, I would say anything from 100 to 150 pounds. It depends. I mean, I've noticed sometimes prices going a little bit going down. You know, the times are hard. I think always a good indicator is to look at Steve Fallon's website, Pipe Stud. I find his prices are a little bit lower than the market, than the sort of private market, the unofficial market. So he's a great place to buy vintage tobacco if you want to. And if you see a tin of tobacco going for $500-600, it's because it's worth it, usually. Don't take my word for it. It's just, to me, it's one of the best vintages of Christmas cheer that I've had. I haven't had all of them. I've had a fair few, but it's just my personal taste. 2016 is also nice. I mean, it could be that the first time that I had 2014, it was... No, actually, it's not true, because when I first got it, the tin that I first had was sent to me by Stutter, Cynthia and Susan. I don't know if you guys remember them. They were going back 7-8 years ago. They were two girls who were pipe smokers, and we exchanged gifts, and they sent me a tin of 2014, and they sent me a two pipe bag, which I still use. Yeah, so one of the things they sent me was the 2014, and when I first opened it and I got that, it's the first time I'd ever tried a McClelland Virginia tobacco. I opened the tin. I was completely green at the time. It was like 2015 or 2016. I was a brand new pipe smoker, and I knew absolutely less than nothing. And when I first opened it, it got that ketchup-y, clovey kind of aroma that kind of put me off. I don't think I even smoked it, I'm not sure, but I just closed the tin with the lid on. I didn't even jar it or anything like that, and I put it in a box somewhere, and I didn't try it again for about another year or so, and then I instantly fell in love with it. Obviously my palate had matured quite a bit since then, since then I always enjoyed it. But to me, I think it's one of the best years. I would say it's on par with 40th anniversary. I would go so far to say that. And to be honest, even with 40th anniversary, I've found discrepancies between different tins. I don't know if you guys have experienced that with McClellands, but I've probably consumed maybe 3 tins of 40th anniversary over the years. Since when was it released? At the end of 2017, I think it was, beginning of 2018 is when they shut up shop, and I think I've had maybe 3 or 4 tins, 3 tins certainly. Pretty sure I've had 3 tins, and the first tin was the best. The first tin was definitely the best out of the lot, and it wasn't just the novelty factor, because it wasn't just the first few balls, it was the whole tin that I enjoyed. I went through that tin quite quickly. Same crop, different batch, something. There was certainly something. Are you serious, Andrew? Wow. That really gives me so much confidence on my palate, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I hardly ever listened to the Pipe Magazine show. I suppose I should really. The last one I listened to was Bernard Elotti, the what's his name, of the Pipe Club of London, the president of the Pipe Club of London. When he was on, I listened to that, but that's probably a couple of years ago now. But that really encourages me as to my palate anyway. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, 40th is a great tobacco, but it's on par with, I would say, Christmas Cheer. I mean, that was their swan song, wasn't it? It was their last, I guess it was a Christmas Cheer, although they did release a 2017 Christmas Cheer, so I'm assuming that's a different crop of tobacco. But London Fog, Daniel, I mean, it's not my creation as such. It's very easy to take 2 complete blends and just mix them together. People do that all the time. All the real work is done by the blenders. I don't claim any blending knowledge whatsoever. All I've done is taken 2 tobaccos that I like, put them together and see if it worked. And that particular one did. I would say 99% of the time, the ones that I try, it doesn't work, because all you're doing is destroying the blend by mixing them with other blends. But because Orley Golden Sliced, you can use it as a base as well, much like 5100, but it's a different genre. But well, it's mostly Virginia, but a different style of Virginia. But it's linear, let's say, although it isn't, but let's call it linear enough to use as a base for other blends. So I often mix it with obviously with Virginia Woods for London Fog, but I also mix it with vanilla roll cake. And vanilla roll cake is a fantastic blend as it stands, but because London Fog because Orlik Golden Sliced is a fairly linear, it doesn't destroy. All it does is dilute. That it doesn't, not with every single blend, but with vanilla roll cake it works, because vanilla roll cake is so robust in its flavor and sort of steadfast. You're not going to shake it up that easily, because it will overpower most blends, most Virginia blends. So you're still going to get that beautiful vanilla bready kind of vanilla flavor, and all the Golden Slice does is dilute it a little bit. So if you're not in the mood for such a heavy duty vanilla aromatic-y kind of smoke, dilute it with a bit of Golden Slice, then you've got just a lighter vanilla roll cake. You don't have a new blend of Golden Slice and vanilla roll cake, you just have a lighter vanilla roll cake. So that's how I see it. That's to me anyway, to my palate. But putting two blends together, as I say, when you're putting two completed blends together, for me, 9 times out of 10, you're ruining both blends. When you're making a new blend, that's a different matter. If you're taking base tobaccos, you're taking leaf almost, and you're putting together tobaccos, then fine. Or if you buy blending tobacco, like Gareth Hogarth blending tobacco, which I think they've stopped now anyway. But if you can buy blending tobaccos, then yeah, you can put stuff together. But you're very unlikely to reinvent the wheel, because you're using the same base tobaccos, blending tobaccos, which Gareth Hogarth uses and many other blenders use to create new blends, or to create their blends. So you're unless you're bringing in a new flavor, let's say you're doing an aromatic, unless you use the base tobaccos and then add a completely new flavor that nobody's ever done before, then fine, but you're not really reinventing anything, you're just adding a flavor to something. So it's like taking water and then just adding something and making a new drink, but it's not really blending. Hey Adam. Many people have tried cigar leaf. Many people have tried, and the ones that I've tried, to me, they will bring robustness, but you're not going to get a cigar tasting tobacco. I don't know of any pipe tobacco that tastes of cigars. If you do know of one, please let me know, because I'd like to know about it. Which tobacco are you thinking of, Adam, in particular, that you've tried? Jermaine's Brown Flake has cigar nuts. McLaren Dominican, yeah, exactly, Phil, exactly, on the button there. Dominican Glory has got cigar leaf in there. It adds something to it for sure, but it's not going to taste like a cigar. Yeah, I mean, having the option of smoking a cigar or a pipe is good, because oftentimes, certainly in the last couple of months, I've been smoking many more cigars than I usually do. I say many more, but I'm saying more than I usually do. I'm not smoking 10 cigars in a week. If I smoke 3 in a week, that's a good week. Toscano cigars. Yeah, exactly. I do just smoke a cigar. But for some people, their preference is to smoke, to use a pipe as the vehicle for smoking tobacco. And I get that. There is a certain convenience to it. With a cigar, once you start it, you really want to smoke it through, although I personally don't. This is a Partagas D4, which has been on my ashtray for about 4 days. I've smoked it about 3 times. It's finished now, but I find it may be because the UK has got a fairly neutral sort of atmosphere in terms of humidity. So you can put a cigar down and go back to it a day later and it hasn't gotten too dry or anything like that. But maybe in other countries, hotter countries, that wouldn't work, but it works here, it works just fine. Alright, well, we look forward to seeing that, Phil. There's still a picture of one of your aluminium pipes that you made on GQ Tobaccos from back in the day. Sounds like some happy people walking past. Hi John, no trade secret. I think the vast majority of pipe makers use the same stuff. This is Fiebing's dye. I actually have a big bottle of it, but several big bottles of different stains, different colours, and that's the one we use. Yeah, Glenn's channel is a nice channel. I miss his channels. Real sort of straight down the line, salt of the earth, no BS. It's called Fiebing's Leather Dye, Fiebings. Big Phil's pipe actually is phenomenal. For a first time pipe, that is amazing. And I'm not just saying it. I'm a good mate of Phil's, but that is, for a first pipe, is amazing. Yes, there's things that he needs to do on that, but it's just, I think it's fantastic for a first pipe. I'm going to catch up with him with a chat. We chat regularly and on video usually, and I'll be chatting with him again probably. I don't know. It was gonna be today, but time ran out. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. He's got a machining background, obviously in his work. He's used lathes before, and that's a big help to be able to turn. And you can see the fact that he's turned the stem and shank, so that the fact that you can turn the stem 360 and it's smooth all the way, that's a good indication that he knows how to use a lathe, which we know. Is there a stain colour I haven't used but I would like to try? No? I don't think so. I've got a good range of colours. I've got probably about 20 different colours. If I wanted to do something, I would, but to be honest with you, 99% of my pipes are done with just one or two different stains. I've kind of kept a consistency so that it's recognizable as my staining. That's the reason why most of the time, but also because it's the color that I like the most. It gives me the best contrast, so I'm happy with that. Adam, so far you're the only one to actually acknowledge it. Yeah, I'm sure he's read your comment, or he will read it, but I will tell him if I remember. Well, that first one, Mark, is his giveaway. He said it's his giveaway pipe for his 500 subs. Which dark spring from McPhil? Lakeland. Ooh-ee. Don't like that. Oh, okay. Settles into being a good quality vapor. A vapor, Virginia Birdie. In May. Cool. Look forward to that. If I can, I will definitely meet up with you again. We had a blast. I did re-drill this pipe because although it was drilled high, but I re-drilled it in order to open up the draw. And probably when re-drilling it, because it was high, I probably pushed down a little bit on the drill, just to lower it a little bit. I imagine that every pipe maker has their own process of how they finish a pipe. I don't use Danish oil personally. I tried it a couple of times, but I try to keep my finish as open as possible. But I don't know if it's better or not. It's just the way I do it. Smoking down to a fine ash. You probably couldn't see that. I think that if I do this kind of thing again, I'll have to make the stem longer. It's really hard to actually bend this. Hey Justin.
What do you mean when you say holds stain? Do you mean that it just takes it better, or do you mean that it doesn't come off in your hands? What do you mean by hold stain? A rusticated pipe will probably absorb more stain. Does it hold it better or not? I don't think so. It just absorbs more. And because you don't take it down again with a smooth pipe, you stain the pipe and then you take it down to reveal the grain, and you polish it and you rub it. You might sand it again and rub it again and polish it again till you end up with the final thing. So the stain is on the surface, so to speak. It does get absorbed, but you know, it wouldn't show up the stain otherwise, the grain otherwise. But I don't think there's any difference really. If you're finishing the pipe right, and you're letting the stain dry properly, depending on your method, if you burn it in or you leave it overnight or whatever it is, there shouldn't be any technical difference. Just that with rusticated pipes, because you're left with open pores, whereas with a smooth pipe you're sanding it down to a very fine sand, so the pores are all going to be very small and minuscule, and especially if you use Danish oil or something like that, you're going to seal that off. But when you're doing rusticated, the pipe is completely open, you know, and you put if you put a bit of stain on a pipe cleaner and you drop it, you'll see it spread like wildfire, because it's all open and very absorbent, and it will just spread and absorb very quickly. You imagine you have a billiard with a thin wall. You rusticate the outside. When you put the stain on it, you'll see it come through on the inside. It doesn't mean that there's holes or anything like that. It's just that it absorbs it very quickly. When you rusticate the pipe, it is more open, so it doesn't necessarily hold it better, but it will absorb more, if that makes any sense. So the reason why a smooth pipe might be dull and a rusticated shiny years later is because a smooth pipe will be sanded smooth and then polished with perhaps with some carnauba wax. But that carnauba wax will wear off over time. It's just wax, so it will wear off over time, and then you're left with a duller pipe, and then the contrast or whatever it is that's there will eventually dull. Because what is contrast? Contrast is the difference between dark and light. But when you smoke the pipe, the lighter areas get browner, they get darker because they're absorbing the juices. So the contrast is less, so it starts to look dull. With a rusticated pipe, you rusticate the pipe, you stain the pipe, and more often than not, you'll shellac the pipe. Most people will put some kind of sealant on there to seal the pipe, and so that stays shiny, because it's, in essence, it's a layer of plastic on the pipe. Whereas carnauba wax will just rub off over time. I can't claim anything for the grain other than using it and showing it in its best light. But that's all nature. And I do like the effect. Being a volcano, this looks a little bit like lava. You've got the darker tips with the red underneath, which is like, if you look at molten lava, that's what you get, is the charcoaly layer on the top, the crust on the top,
But underneath it, you know, there's some red hot stuff going on underneath, and that's kind of what's going on there. Hey 45, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're well. Being how clean this was, the turn was, I've got a feeling that I gave this pipe a little bit of a once over, and I think I probably reamed the bowl as well. I don't ream pipes very often, but I may well have reamed this, which is why it's got a bit of a fresher, woody taste. I don't do reverse plateaus very often, but in a volcano it just works. And one of my best reverse plateaus in terms of the plateau is a pipe that Mike Gamecock Piper has got, Mike Blocker. He got a pipe in, I think it was in, must have been a raffle or a giveaway, I can't remember. I think it was a giveaway. And that was a non-filtered pipe actually. But the plateau on that was, the nodules of the plateau were just so beautiful. They were very rounded, very consistent, very even, and it looked like a moonscape. When you held it up to your eye level, and you held it up like that, and you looked along the top, it was just something like a moonscape. It was just stunning. And had that been a 9mm pipe, I probably would have kept it in the end because it sat for so long, it didn't sell. And but that was another blocky kind of pipe. But I love that pipe. Beautiful stem on it as well. Three more days till Christmas. What are you on about, Mark? Yeah, go for it, Phil. The max speed for buffing pipe stems. I think if I'm at the max speed, I'd probably be around 1500 RPM. Oh, I see what you mean, Mark. There's a certain comfort to being paid monthly. At least you know it's coming at the end of each month. The problem with that is that it gets spent too quickly, and then you're, by the second of the month, you're counting down 29 or 30 days till the next payday. My shaping wheel is a 6-inch and a 2-inch. I use two. I use a 6-inch and a 2-inch. Carblast, natural finished, bent from the darkening, really nice. Cool. I don't remember which one that was. Was that a billiard? Yeah, very much so, Phil. Really depending on the material that you're using, but some stem materials will break down very quickly. Why is my computer screen turned up? I think my computer's gone to sleep. I hope it's still live. I just have to use my iPad. I think I'm using my phone. Oh, great. As soon as I get my phone ready, you wake up. Green and yellow stem, right. Hey Lee. Robert, only Peterson's absorb the stains in the bottle. Yeah, I would echo what Phil says. Generally, the dye that you use is going to be food safe, so it really shouldn't have, unless you're completely drenching the pipe in stain on the inside. I mean, there's probably some pipe makers out there who stain the inside of the pipes. You know, just to make it look nice, give it maybe a golden color or something like that. So I don't think that's a major issue. It shouldn't really make a major issue at all in terms of flavor. See you, Adam. Thanks for joining. Yeah, you have seen them. I was reading the Peterson book, and I'm always shocked. I've said this before, that they, having read the book more than once now, they, no matter which grade the pipe, they only sand up to 240 grit, and the finish of the pipe, whether it gets lacquered or whether it gets rusticated or whatever it is. Well, not if it's rusticated, but smooth pipes, no matter the grade, even if it's a gold spigot, it's still only sanded to 240 grit, and I'm always astonished by that. But there you go. But yes, they do dip their pipes as well. I don't know if they do now, because now I don't know how much of it gets made in their factory anymore. I think most of the balls are done in Italy, but they do dip their pipes, or they used to anyway, according to the book. They would dip their pipes and they would be in there for 10 minutes, which I was also shocked by when I read it. And to prevent the stain going inside the bowl, they use corks. They didn't always use corks. At some point, I can't remember the date now, but they started using corks. So if you get a Peterson, which is very, very shiny, it's got lacquer on it more than likely. John Smith, is that your actual name, or is it just a John Smith kind of name? Yeah, only alcohol based, yeah. Well, Daniel, most people want to get their pipes to have that yellow brown kind of color, They're trying to colour up their pipes. But if you want to restore a meerschaum pipe to be beautiful, bright white, put it in a coal fire. Oh, put it in the sunshine. There you go. You put that in you put a meerschaum. Oh, is that a clay? Sorry, don't do that. I think I'm talking about clay pipe. It's anonymous. I thought so, John. Take a clay pipe, chuck that in the fire. You take it out, it should be pristine again after that. I'm not sure if the same applies to meerschaum. I might be wrong. I might have got myself mixed up. So don't take my word for it. There are various ways of making the pipe yellow faster. You can read Rick, what's his name's book? Pipe Dreams. Oh, what's it called now? Rick Newcomb's book, In Search of Pipe Dreams. And there's a second book called Still in Search of Pipe Dreams, and he gives a very in-detail description of how you can do that. But I'm sure if you search it on YouTube, I'm sure you'll find plenty of videos about how to do it. Yeah, good tip, Phil. Make sure it's block meerschaum. I'll leave that one to you, Phil. .220 to 240 is standard. Well, I routinely sand my pipes up to 600. I used to be 600 and then I went up to 800 just to get that little bit more of a sheen on the pipe, so that even when the carnauba wax wears off, the pipe will have a natural smoothness to it. And Phil, I don't know about you, but I've never had a problem with pipes taking stain. All of my pipes go up to 800 and they stain really well, and I get good contrast on most of them, so I don't have that problem. Alternate will definitely be a block meerschaum, 99.9%. You've got to be careful with estate meerschaums, because meerschaums are notorious for having terrible stem work and tenon and mortise work. So you just got to know what you're getting and be prepared for it not to be very comfortable. So unless you get one of the very recognized companies more recently as well, because time gone by, even the recognized companies, their stem work wasn't great. But certainly I would get one of the recognized ones. If you can get it in a state for a reasonable price, then yeah, why not? Yeah, John, that will be a lacquer. That would be a lacquered finish. I don't use lacquer as such, but I use carnauba wax. But of late, in the last few months, I've kind of developed a process whereby the carnauba wax goes on and I create a hard layer of carnauba wax, and then carnauba wax it again on top of that, which creates that beautiful sheen. The problem with that is that sometimes you get a bit of streaking and stuff like that, but other than that, the process that I use for carnauba wax just makes it last a little bit longer. Hey, GMC. In case any of you guys haven't seen Mike's video he put out earlier, he rips into a few established channels. Interesting video, watch it. I've tried briar pipes with a meerschaum bowl myself. A lot of people do smoke those. I didn't smoke it enough to be able to say one way or the other, but just sort of superficially, I don't get the point of it. I mean, the idea of a meerschaum pipe is to get that absorbency of the meerschaum. If you're going to stick a very thin layer of meerschaum inside a briar pipe, I don't know, maybe people who smoke those regularly can say whether there's an advantage to it. But to me, it makes more sense either smoke a meerschaum pipe or smoke a briar pipe. I'm not sure that there's anything to be had by smoking a combination of the two. Chad's put one up again recently now. Chad put a couple up going back a few weeks ago. Has he put more up? Hey you, let's have a look. You're beautiful. Hey you. Oh, it's just now he's put it up 20 hours ago. Who's that picture of in the background? You still on, Chad? Oh, it's Robert De Niro. It's not, it's Robert De Niro, young Robert De Niro. Well, I'll watch it later on, or tomorrow. I guess it's, hey you looking at me. That was was it Taxi? I'm looking in the mirror. Taxi driver, yeah. Coming to the end of this fall now. It's actually lasted quite a bit. How long have we been on? 82 minutes. Really? Yeah. Thought we'd run longer than that. Well, folks, I'm dried up. I've not much else to talk about, so I'm not going to schlep it along for the sake of it. If you've got any other questions, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I will wrap things up. Every comment went self-effacing or defecating. Alright. Thanks, John, B-Dog, Jeremy Viz, Phil, McPhil, Daniel, Sam Online, Chad, Yardism, GMCD86, Justin Frazier, Patrick Grant, Welsh Piper, Mark, must be on his 4-day break. Robert Leslie, Piper on the 45, McPhil, Chillax, Mike at Briar Blues. Mike, don't go. Don't go. Please don't go. Who else have we got here? Lee Wilson. A Piper wondering. He's gone already, hasn't he? Beowulf and Miss Kathy. John Smith. Oh, who is it really? It ain't John Smith, that's for sure. Oh, flippin' heck, Phil. I keep forgetting to do that for you. Well, where do you want it to? Here? To the joint there, literally there, yeah? No, I'm not standing straight. I'm going to have to get somebody to do it. Can't do it like that. Yeah, I'll have to get somebody else to do it. I'm going to make a note for myself. Alright, we'll get that done. Thanks everybody. Do I work with mortar? I do. Not much, but I do. I do have some mortar blocks. If you want something made, give us a shout. lcsbriars@gmail.com. Cheers, Daniel. Oscar, hi. Didn't see you. Have a good night, everybody. Andrew, you still there? Good night to you too. Thank you for joining. Have a great weekend. I will be incommunicado on from Sunday night through to Monday night, and then there will be no London calling for the next 2 weeks. As I said, festivals, in and out of festivals now for the next couple of weeks. So this coming Monday I'm out of action, and then next Sunday I'll be out of action, and then the following Saturday and Sunday, which is the Nottingham Pipe Show, which I won't be able to go to now. So there we go. Thanks everybody. Catch you on the next one.